Yo, what's up? You gotta love the internet, right? Gotta love power, electricity, things out of your control. Apologies for that. It was a mini power outage in my building that went down for literally 2 seconds. But 2 seconds is enough to throw your whole live stream off. It's all you need. It doesn't need to be a ton. It wasn't like it was a long power outage, but a mini power outage turned off the power, turned off the internet here. So I was obviously frozen or missing or MIA, whatever was happening on your stream. So apologies for those who are off the stream, and give them a second to come back, and for those who are going to be looking for the show. But we are back. We're back live, doing again 40 days, 40 nights, live on multiple spots, including live on YouTube, New Generation Media, streaming live on X, EJ_Stewart. And let me also get this Instagram back up too, because now we're live on Instagram. Just getting all the ducks in a row here. Now also streaming live back on Instagram. Hello to the Instagram audience. I know I fell off the map there. It was an internet power outage in my building. This weather, man, like this is like ridiculous. I don't know how much longer we gotta deal with this kind of stuff. And to be clear, this is typically how winter is supposed to be in New York City, to be fair. I know a lot of us are complaining about it. It's supposed to be cold, it's supposed to be snowy, it's supposed to be dreary. But climate change gave us kind of a different approach and different vibe where we thought we were done with this. And for the last several winters in a row, it was like the temperature dipped below 30. It was kind of a shock. You were getting plenty of days into 40 degrees. It may snow once during the entire season, if at all. If it snowed, it was not going to be something crazy. We've had 2 blizzards. We've had messy weather. We've had freezing cold temperatures at points in time for a long extended period of time. I know the folks that live in the Midwest and live in the Great Plains and live in Canada who may be watching the show, or live either further up in the Northeast, probably looking at us. You soft New Yorkers, you guys saw how tough you are. You're complaining about some damn snow. Well, yeah, I've been complaining about some damn snow when I'm doing a live stream and it's getting cut off. And I'm talking about my favorite show, The Game, a show that I suggest you all watch. I believe it's on Netflix, all the episodes, I'm pretty sure, if you have Netflix. Telling a fun story about one of my favorite clips from the show, one of my favorite moments from the show. I think it's from like the 3rd or 4th episode of the entire series, from the great Malik Wright, because I was making a conversation about Kyler Murray and how when you look at Kyler, even though he's a quarterback that if you're ranking the top quarterbacks, does he crack the top 20? Probably not at this point in time, but he is a former #1 pick, and he plays the most important position in all of sports. So we're going to talk about him because, as the great Malik Wright said on The Game,
everybody knows the quarterback.
Everybody knows the quarterback. Which, again, the story I was trying to tell was the character in the show, Tia Mowry, Melanie. She's a med school student, and she's dating this NFL player who's kind of low in the totem pole, a rookie probably drafted in the 5th or 6th round. She's learning what life is like as a girlfriend of an NFL player, especially a kind of bench warmer type guy, which is a little complicated when she's trying to be a doctor. So she has this friend that she meets in the show that's also a med school student. And she's like, hey, like, you know, having fun hanging out. You want to come to this stupid football game? I really like going, and the wives are kind of annoying, but you being there will make it a lot more fun. So she brings her friend who says she knows nothing about football, who doesn't care about football because she's also a medical student, right? To this game. They're going to go to the game, and then they're going to go, I guess, go have drinks afterwards. And, you know, she congratulates her boyfriend on, you know, the team win and stuff. So she kind of briefly walks away from her friend to just say, hey, great job. I'll see you a little bit later. I'm going to hang out and have drinks with my friend, and I'll see you tonight. Then she goes back to the friend, and the friend, of course, is all hugged up on the starting quarterback. And she's like, all right, you ready to go hang out? She's like, oh, actually, I'm going to hang out with the star quarterback, Malik Wright. Like, I'm going to hang out with him. He's got a cool car. He's got all these plans. It's going to be a lot of fun. And she's like, well, we're supposed to hang out. And she's like, I mean, it's one night. What's the big deal? Like, let me have this night with the quarterback. And when she says that, like, oh, like, you know, I can't turn this down. He's the quarterback. And then Tia Mowry's character says, I thought you knew nothing about football. And that's what Malik Wright says.
Everybody knows the quarterback.
And to be honest, I feel like I bring this drop a ton. I bring this quote a ton. Is a quote that actually is a foundational quote for me when I talk about football, I talk about sports. Because when we talk about the quarterback position, it's one of the truest statements I've seen on like a fun YouTube, sitcom or dramatic show about sports. You can say whatever you want about sports, whatever you want about certain players, and people have certain feelings and certain things. Some people don't love football. Like, it's not many of us, because millions and millions we watch every day, but there are a lot of people who don't like football, who don't like sports, don't like whatever. But what I've learned is that regardless of your interest in sports, people know Aaron Rodgers. People know who Tom Brady is. People know who Peyton Manning is. Like, even if you don't have a strong familiarity with what they do or how good they are or whatever, you know them because they're star quarterbacks. And when you're the quarterback of any team in any city, you are the most well-known guy probably in that city, outside of your mayor. Why? Because Malik Wright famously said on this sitcom that was probably done in like 2008.
Everybody knows the quarterback.
And that's why with Kyler Murray, we're going to have this conversation. Kyler Murray is not a top 20 quarterback. I think that any thought of him being what he was as a former number one pick, if you think you're getting that production, good luck to you. I don't think that's happening. So we're like, okay, well, why is he checking up all his oxygen? Why are we going to continue to talk about whether or not he gets traded, what team he goes to? He's going to go to a bad team. Like, why are we all doing this? Well, the quarterback position is interesting. We all care about the quarterback. Do you know why?
Everybody knows the quarterback.
Everybody knows the quarterback. That was me finishing that story. That should give also enough people enough time to, if they were watching the first stream, find their way over to the second stream. I'm hoping that I'll have no more power issues. Again, it's snowing, it's cold, that the snow has turned into like an icy rain, I think, now. So I assume that's why the power went out. Let's hope that we don't have any more issues moving forward. I do want to quickly talk about a couple more things. I do want to talk about the Denver Broncos, because they made a big shift. Since Sean Payton has been an NFL head coach, he's only been his team's offensive play caller. When he went to the Saints, he was calling plays. He was there forever, and then he resigned and took a sabbatical. Came back to Broncos, also decided to call plays. But that's going to change this year, because Sean Payton will no longer be the play caller for the Denver Broncos for this upcoming season. It will now be Davis Webb. So Davis Webb has kind of become a big figure for the Denver Broncos, because he is the guy that they brought in to essentially replace Joe Lombardi, who was their offensive coordinator. Davis Webb, I believe, was a quarterback coach. He's someone that clearly Sean Payton thinks very highly of, because he fired Joe Lombardi, who had been his offensive assistant and has been recently his offensive play caller, or offensive coordinator, I'm sorry, not calling plays, but his coordinator for years. I think he'd been with Sean Payton for like 17, 18 years. They lose a game in which they play with a backup quarterback in Jarrett Stidham, and Sean Payton's idiotic decision to go for a fourth down when you have a backup quarterback probably cost his team the game in the first half, and his team scored 7 points in a playoff game. He decided that someone had to take the fall for that, and it was going to be Joe Lombardi. Why? I have no idea, because Joe Lombardi seems to be, totally fine enough assistant for whatever Sean Payton needs. Again, he's not actually calling the plays, but Joe Lombardi took the fall. Davis Webb, who was getting some chatter about maybe being a head coach in the NFL, he was actually getting head coaching interviews, other coordinator spots potentially maybe interested in him. So they fired Lombardi, elevated Davis Webb once he did not get a head coaching job to be offensive coordinator. Now this change comes where he becomes a play call. Davis Webb, you may remember, he was playing in the NFL not that long ago. He's a guy who's only 31 years old. And he's a guy who was, again, a college star at Texas Tech and at Cal. And then he played in the NFL for multiple teams. He had stints with the Giants, stints with the Jets, a stint with the Bills. I don't think he actually got into an NFL game, or if he did, he got into very few. Yeah, he got into one game. The Giants started in one game. I remember that in 2022. I'm sorry. He started one game. It didn't go that well. They lost, which is typical for the New York Giants. But he's only gotten into 2 games in his career, but he's a young guy. Clearly, they think extremely highly of him. I don't know why this is the guy that Sean Payton's deciding, hey, I need to give play calling duties away to. But there is a chance that Sean Payton did a little bit of reflection on the Broncos offense this year and what they were in the playoffs, which they were just very hit or miss. And that's been kind of the thing that has held me back from really believing in the Broncos as a Super Bowl championship caliber team, because Bo Nix, he's shown flashes of brilliance, but there's been a lot of inconsistency, right? It's not an offense I would consider efficient. is functional and it can make explosive plays because Bo Nix is great off script. But in terms of like what I expect from a Sean Payton offense, if I expect it to be anything like what we saw from Drew Brees, this is not that. It has not been that since he got there. They've been good. They've been good enough to go to the playoffs. But if that's the kind of offensive efficiency they're looking for, they have not had it. So this is kind of a bold move by Sean Payton to say, I'm going to take away, we talked about, Aaron Glenn yesterday, talked about how his superpower was that, was calling the defense. Like, we would think that this is Sean Payton's superpower, right?
To me, play call is my superpower, really.
Like, I would assume that's what you want Sean Payton for, is because he's a great play caller, because he's had so much success as an offensive mind. So it's surprising to see that go away, especially when his game management this year was terrible. I mean, I mentioned the terrible job he did in the AFC Championship game, decisions to go for it, other terrible decisions. He coached a terrible game, one of his worst games, I feel like. And something I had mentioned, my brother Kendall mentioned a ton during the season, and we would text back and forth. There were so many games this year where the odds of the Broncos losing were very low because of the team they were playing and how good their defense was. But he was also making some weird decisions during the regular season. They had a game against the Raiders where he's going for it on a fourth down when if you simply just kick a field goal, you go up 2 scores and the game is over. Like, he was doing a lot of weird stuff throughout the entire season in terms of situational football. It didn't hurt them to lose games, but you looked at that and said, man, like if they were playing against a viable team or this was a closer situation, that would have been a stupid decision. Like, this is the only decision that actually gives the team a window to come back and win this game, is Sean Payton doing this. He got away with it, but it was just because of the nature of those decisions. The odds of him getting burned were low, but it seemed like the process was still broken. And then he said, this is going to hurt this guy at some point, and then it hurt him in the playoffs because when, again, situational football, where now it does matter what decisions you make. You're going for it on fourth down in a game where probably 2 scores win because there's a snowstorm coming in the second half. It's silly. Absolute silly stuff. So that's the thing I would worry about if I was a Denver Broncos fan. All right, does this mean he's going to be better at situational football than he was last year? Because he killed us last year. He killed us in the playoffs. He had multiple moments in the regular season where he seemed to not understand time and situation. Is this him saying, hey, if I get rid of play call, dude, that could be a better job at doing the job of the CEO head coach stuff, which Sean Payton typically has been very good at. I think that honestly, along with his play calling, being his superpower, as Aaron Glenn famously said.
To me, play call is my superpower, really.
Like, I think Sean Payton, in terms of situational football and taking risks and knowing time situation, that's been something he's been usually really good at. I mean, he's been terrible since he got to the Broncos, but he's been good at that in his career with the Saints. Is this him saying, hey, if I can get rid of play calling as part of this, maybe I'll see the game a little better and I can oversee everything? Maybe. I'll be curious if this means a step up for Bo Nix. Because I think we thought a thing with Bo Nix that would be good is him getting tutelage under Sean Payton as his play caller because he's so experienced in that. Now he's getting a 31-year-old guy who has never done this before. It's a bold move, man. It's a very bold move. But the Denver Broncos offense hasn't been, like, special. So it may be worth the risk. And to be honest, if the Broncos didn't have a defense as good as they have, maybe Sean Payton doesn't take this risk. Like, I say if they were a more balanced team, where they had a good offense and a good defense, but defense wasn't top 5 or top 10. Maybe Sean Payton's like, I can't afford to experiment with a new offensive coordinator because I need my offense to score points. What he knows about his defense is even when he was calling the plays, his offense did not have to do much for them to win games. So we could say, listen, we're not playing that great offensively overall. I'm getting a little older. I made some boneheaded decisions in terms of game situational football that probably cost us a top opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. I have a young coach who I believe in, who I clearly, he fired his offensive coordinator who's been with him forever so this guy can get this opportunity. Let me give him the keys and let's see if he sees the game differently and see what we can do and see if this works. Because maybe we can unlock something. Payton and Bo Nix also seem to have a weird relationship. I don't think it's bad, but it's kind of combative. It kind of reminds me, and I always say one of the things that annoys me about Sean Payton is I think a lot of times he is doing a Bill Parcells cosplay. But, like it kind of reminds me of Phil Simms and Bill Parcells. Like if you've ever seen those mic'd up segments that they do sometimes NFL films showing like a lot of times it's Parcells who's mic'd up, but like Parcells is just going crazy on the sidelines and Phil Simms being like, "Yo, calm the F down, man. Like I got this. It's fine." Or trying to appeal to Bill Parcells to do things. Bill Parcells is a lunatic, and that's kind of the vibe I get from Bo Nix and Sean Payton. And Bill Parcells and Simms, for the most part, had a pretty good relationship. But that's kind of the vibe I get with these two guys too, where it's kind of combative. Like, you watch these games, and sometimes like Sean Payton's giving it to Bo Nix. Bo Nix is giving it right back to him. Like, hey, shut up, bro. Like, I'm tired of hearing from you. Like, maybe this is Sean Payton really seeing that. And maybe he's like, listen, this isn't a healthy relationship moving forward for me to be ripping this kid every time he makes a mistake, or us being at odds as often as we are. If he has a different guy in his ear, maybe that will help. That could be something he's looking at too. Because it is weird. You don't see typically, I think, young quarterbacks and their play caller for a team that is winning bicker as much. I would say bicker. I would not say fight or altercations. I wouldn't go that far. But they bicker. They definitely bicker. You don't see them bicker as much as these guys do. Like, you remember Patrick Mahomes bickering with Andy Reid regularly? Like, that wasn't happening. A lot of times it was, we should go for it on fourth down, or I'm not hurt, let me get back in the game. It was not like, hey, what are you doing on that read? Or come off the sidelines, and he's just yelling, and then the quarterback just yelling right back at him. Payton seems to like that, though. I think he likes Bo Nix's fire. I don't think it's something that is like super concerning, but I do think in terms of him looking at overall evaluating everything with the team, he's probably saying this probably isn't the healthiest way to go about this, and the healthiest way to go about his development. Give him somebody he likes. Maybe he won't yell at so much, and maybe that guy will see things I'm not seeing. Maybe I'm not seeing the game that he's seeing, and that's why we're having these little mini blow-ups on the sidelines. So I'm very fascinated by this. It's a huge risk. But when you have a team that is Super Bowl aspirations and a Super Bowl defense, you may be willing to say, I will give somebody a chance here if it means we have a higher ceiling with this guy calling the plays. Because, again, he played the NFL not that long ago. He knows the game in terms of being out there, maybe a little more than I do. So maybe he sees things that through Bo's eyes that I won't see because I haven't played since the 70s or 80s, whenever Sean Payton was playing quarterback. I believe he's an Eastern Illinois guy, I want to say. But an interesting, big of a development there in Denver, that Sean Payton giving up play calling, something I thought we would never see, to be honest. One thing I think we are seeing right now is the next big thing in baseball. I said it earlier in the show. Well, it was now in the, if you're watching this via the live stream, you'd have to go back to the part one of day 33 because we had the internet outage that gave us a brief hiatus. Shout out to John Andrew Lean, who's both sometimes in the YouTube and the Twitter and the Instagram. Today's on Instagram saying we're back. Yes, we are. Back on Instagram and back on X and back on YouTube. Apologies for the power outage. Sometimes that happens. When you get this terrible weather in the Northeast, building goes on the fritz, we lose power for a second. Thankfully, this was not like in the past when we have lost internet doing the show and it hasn't come back for like an hour or so. This came back pretty quickly. And it seems like whatever the bad weather was happening, it seems like it's kind of slowing down. So it may still be raining, I think, but I don't think it's quite as bad as it was a couple minutes ago. So hopefully we won't have any more issues. But I mentioned, when it comes to see the next big thing in baseball, I like really doing it for pitchers, because pitchers are kind of obvious. Oh, the guy throws 101 miles an hour. How's he going to be? Probably pretty good. But I like to do it with more like position players. And again, the last guy I really remember saying this about was about Bobby Witt. When I was like, this is the next big thing in the sport. And he's been a superstar. So I feel like I was right about that. Like most people who evaluate Bobby Witt. But prospects are a tricky deal, man. Sometimes they end up not working out, even the best guys. I think we're seeing the next big thing with this kid in Pittsburgh. We got this teenager, Connor Griffin, who put on an absolute show in spring training yesterday. He's a shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates, a team that is definitely become accustomed to having these top-end prospects this year. And ironically, I didn't put him on my list of players to watch for the team. In fact, I put Bubba Chandler, one of their starters, who's also a young player who is suspected to get a lot of time this year in the major leagues. I put him on the list as the other rookie to look out for the Pittsburgh Pirates this year. Connor Griffin wasn't on that list in part because he is 19 years old. And I wasn't sure how much he really was going to play on the major league level. But he hit 2 home runs yesterday. and it is starting to appear that he has a realistic shot of not only coming up pretty quickly in the major leagues, but actually starting for the Pittsburgh Pirates on opening day. There's not a lot of competition there. It's Pittsburgh Pirates. But that is also how dominant he has been and how much he is impressing the Pittsburgh Pirates and their team. So he had 2 monster home runs. He had one off of multiple-time All-Star Ranger Suarez, who's, again, just came over from the Phillies, now with the Red Sox. He also hit one that was a 440-foot bomb over what's really cool, by the way, a miniature version of the big green monster that they have in Fenway that they then brought to their spring training field, which I always forget until I watch a Red Sox spring training game and I remember, oh right, they have like a mini version of the big green monster. That's pretty cool. This one, the monster had no impact on this home run. This was a light tower power kind of shot from Connor Griffin. Griffin, again, if he makes his debut on opening day, he'd be the first teenager, because he is 19 years old. He'll be 20 later in April. It will be the first teenager since Ken Griffey Jr. in 1989 to make their major league debut on opening day. So you're talking about essentially prodigious stuff from this kid. And I'm going to tell you why I hope he makes his debut on opening day and why I think it'll be good for Major League Baseball and the Pirates that he does. Baseball is not starving for stars. They're actually in a really good spot when it comes to stars. First time in a while where I think they have actual needle movers. They have at least 2. Shohei and Judge are undeniable needle movers, in my opinion, when it comes to athletes in baseball. And there was a stretch where they didn't have anybody. I don't think that Mike Trout was that guy. I don't even think Bryce Harper was that guy. And I think it hurt baseball. And I've actually made the case that one of the reasons we talk about the decline of baseball, quote unquote, I think one of the reasons is the steroid era, but for different reasons other people say. In my opinion, I felt like Major League Baseball was hesitant to really wrap their arms around any major star that came up over the last few years because they were concerned that guy may get popped in a, biogenesis or another Balco or simply fail a steroid test. Like they'll get wrapped up in some kind of PED scandal, and now this guy you wrapped your arms around is a pariah because they got burned with the 98 home run chase. They never really embraced Barry Bonds, but then they wanted to embrace Alex Rodriguez, and that was a disaster. And then other guys that have been great players, Ryan Braun, even like they I thought that the Alex Rodriguez Braun stuff, I think kind of made I saw a shift where I felt like people kept saying, why aren't they like promoting the game better? Why aren't they promoting these great stars? Like there's so many great players in Major League Baseball. It feels like we're not wrapping our arms around anybody. I was like, I think they're afraid. They're trying to pitch the game, but the game is kind of boring. Like I love baseball, but to a lot of folks it's boring. And pitching the overall game or pageantry and all that stuff is dead right now. We don't care about that anymore. You gotta pitch stars. You gotta pitch that guys can't miss. And Trout as a talent was a can't miss guy. Bryce as a talent was a can't miss guy, but I just think that they were so afraid of like, well, if we really, do what we did in '98 with these guys and make these guys the face, and then we realize they're cheating, we're gonna have egg on our face, and it's gonna end up being bad. So I think that little like weird period where baseball was having trouble marketing its sport, that is my theory as to why they had so much trouble, in my opinion. They haven't had that problem recently, I think in part because we don't really get guys who are superstars getting popped for steroids anymore. Are they on something? I'm not getting into that conversation. I plead the fifth on whether I think they're doing anything. But they're not getting popped for steroids, at least. Not the top guys. So I think now they feel more comfortable saying, hey, we can wrap our arms around Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. And when the big dumper, Kyle Raleigh, has a big season, we can play that up as much as we can. And we can play up Vlad Guerrero's incredible postseason. Like, we can do all those things and feel good. I think it's been one of the reasons why I think Major League Baseball is seeing a little bit of an uptick in popularity and in interest and fan interest. They have an issue with these broke boy owners who are ruining certain markets, but overall, I think the game is about as good a spot as it's been in a long time in terms of just interest. Other things we can talk about, which is why there could be a lockout, but in terms of fan interest, I think it's at a pretty good level. So they haven't had that issue so much. But I do think when I think about what works in terms of American stars, one thing that I think we lose sight of in terms of what makes an American star special is I mentioned on the show that we actually like nepotism in sports. We don't like it like Bronny James nepotism. That's like an extreme. But typically, we love seeing legacy athletes become, greats. Like, I think Steph Curry being a legacy athlete is important to his story and his appeal. And I always say legacy athletes when it comes to coaching, like, we love that. It's like, oh, your dad was this? Yeah, you're going to be great. Even there's no evidence. No, I said, like in the NFL, actually, there's evidence that maybe there is something to that. Because Kyle Shanahan's really good. Sean McVay's really good. Clint Kubiak seems like a damn good offensive coordinator, where Steve is a good head coach. Like I said, NFL coaches, nepotism, I'm totally okay with. But besides nepotism, the other thing I think we also really love in sports is we love prodigies. We love prodigies. And it's a little bit scary because it kind of sets you up for a major fall off if things don't go well. And then you could kind of begin to become a little bit of a pariah. We can kind of really get after you. And sometimes it's a negative way for people who are super young. But I would argue that one of the reasons why Tiger Woods was so popular, there are a lot of reasons. The number one reason is the novelty of a black man with black ethnicity being a star in sports and in golf. But I think another big part of it is he's a prodigy. Like, what was he, 20-something when he won his first Masters? He was dominating the juniors. We saw this guy doing, late night shows as a 5-6-year-old, putting on the green. Like, he's a prodigy. And, like, seeing young people come up and become what we hope they can become is a thing that sports fans will always love. I think it's important to LeBron James' story. I think it's important to Serena Williams' story. I think it's important to a lot of these Olympic athletes that we follow since they were young adults and then turning up into then, of course, superstars like a Lindsey Vonn, for example. Like that is something that will never go away. We like prodigy. We like seeing the next big thing, as we say with Brock Lesnar, next big thing come up and seeing if they can actually live up to the hype. But when they do, usually I think their interest in terms of how we stay with them, it transcends sports. Because it's someone that we were saying for years and years and years was going to change the sport or be a superstar, and it turns out they are. So I think that for me, you want to talk about plate appearances and time in the minor leagues, which we will in a second. I say, man, bring this kid up. I think it's a great story for the sport. I think it's a great story for the Pirates. The Pirates do not have other players better than this kid at shortstop. Let him play, man. Like, he can make history and be the first player since Ken Griffey Jr. to start his career on the major league level on opening day as a teenager. And that's the kind of history he has in front of him. And he's hitting 400-foot bombs against veteran starting pitchers in spring training. Then let's see what he's got. The worst comes to worst, if he struggles a little bit, you can send him down to the minors and he can get his swing back. But I think that this is one of those things where, to be honest, I think story transcends maybe common sense. Like, common sense maybe suggests it's a risk to throw this guy out there at 19 years old, having just one full season in the minor leagues, and saying, go out there and fail and playing for this terrible team. Like, I know all the downsides. A, I think he's good enough to not fail. But B, I think that this becomes one of the huge stories of the Major League Baseball season if he actually is able to make the team. And it seems like he should. He had to hit in spring training until this day, but then you see him hitting 400-foot bombs, and you're like, oh, okay, I think this kid's got it. And the team has been saying, yeah, he's a special guy. Like, we know he's going to be on the team this year. It's just a matter of when at this point in time. Again, he'll turn 20 in April, so if he's not in the opening day roster, if he's brought up in May, which is when most of these young guys are brought up, he'll be a 20-year-old. But still, this is an important part of this story. Now, what's interesting about his story is, again, he only has one full season of minor league baseball. So this is from Baseball America. So Griffin did not play an official game in 2024 after he was drafted. He played 122 games last year. You see the slash, which is ridiculous. 333, 415 on base, 527 slugging. That's like a 900 OPS. So he just was destroying minor league pitching. But this is still on the low A, high A, and double A level. Still not major league level. But you see, destroying minor league pitching, but that's in only 563 plate appearances. That is not a lot. typically guys who are under 21 who make their debut in the major leagues, typically they usually average around 1,200 play appearances in the minor leagues. If you're younger, you're usually around 1,000. There are only a few guys who have had this kind of short stint in the minor leagues in terms of this few plate appearances and have been called up. And I will say, the company's pretty good. You're talking about here, in the past 40 years, just 4 players with Griffith's combination of youth, inexperience, and experience have reached the big leagues. Since 1985, the 4 players who have had 130 or fewer minor league games and 575 fewer play appearances are Ken Griffey Jr., Alex Rodriguez, Bryce Harper, and Juan Soto. Which is why, if the Pirates are being serious about this and we see this kid's prodigious power, and by the way, like, he's a shortstop, this guy is massive. I don't know if he plays shortstop forever, but he may be a teenager, but he has a grown man body. This guy is huge. He's 6'4", he's built. I'm like, yeah, this guy, he looks like he can play on the major leagues, no question. But that's the company he's in, which is why I'm like, yeah, this is the next big thing. Like, if he's this good and you're talking about, yeah, we're going to put him in the same conversation with other guys who, all these guys, again, I think what makes Ken Griffey Jr.'s story, Alex Rodriguez, Bryce Harper, Juan Soto's international is a little different, but I think still, the fact that their age is part of their story is what made them special. And Connor Griffin is now potentially going to be in this class. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, but I think he can handle it. And I also think it's important for baseball to give him a shot to handle it. Because, again, you could be seeing one of the next big stars. And I also feel like we're in such a weird time in baseball because of this. Well, we have a lockout coming, so we'll see what comes with that. But I think if you're the Pirates, there was a time where it was like, well, you know, we want to manipulate his service time. So let's hold him till May so we get another year of arbitration, another year of him being pre-arbitration, rather. Another year of him on the team so we can control him. The Pirates are such a sorry team, and they're so ready to develop the next great star and just trade him to the next place. I don't think they care about that kind of stuff anymore. And if we're doing their strategy, you probably shouldn't. Like, who cares if this guy is in the situation where, oh, well, if we do now, we're losing a year of service time by bringing him up. Who cares? If he's a star, the earlier you can trade him, the better. If he's a year younger, a year younger and still a super talent, like, and the team has another opportunity to trade for him and have more service time for more control of him in terms of making a trade, or he's younger to free agency, which means he'll be a better player potentially and be offered more money. Who cares? That doesn't matter. It's not like this is your team. Like, you're not trying. The Pittsburgh Pirates aren't trying to be good. Service time only matters if you're worried about trying to be as good as possible for your team. That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to develop players to a standard that is so high that then they can say, okay, cool, you like this guy, he's one of the best players in baseball. We're not going to be able to re-sign him because he's too expensive. We'll trade him to you for all your prospects. And we'll keep doing this over and over and over again. So what difference does it make if he's up in May or on opening day? I don't think it makes any difference not to the Pirates. Now, the Guardians seem like a team that's like, they're trying to win and not spend any money. So for them, it may make a difference. Say, hey, man, as many years as possible, we can have this guy under our control, and we can try to win with this guy. That would be important. For the Guardians, for example, who are 29th in payroll, yeah, I would say maybe it makes more sense to keep in the minor leagues, let them come up in May. The Pirates don't care. They're not close to winning. They're not trying to even win. So service time, my ass. Like, bring him up, let him play, let him make history. And let's see what this kid's got. But I mean, when I saw those home runs, I'm like, okay, that guy, who is that guy? Like, you hear the crack of the bat on these home runs. You're like, that's special power. And he's 19 years old, plays a premium position at shortstop. What are we talking about? Clear as day to me. You got to bring him up. So Connor Griffin, next big thing in my opinion in baseball. Last thing before we get out of here. Been maybe a somewhat tumultuous morning because of the power outage, but a fun morning nonetheless. We talked a bunch of sports, as now my hard drive failed. That's great. Nothing's going right today. So you will see part 1 of this episode on the podcast. When part 2 will be up is TBD, because my hard drive decided to fail randomly, which I love. It's a weird day. But one of the things that I did want to talk about, we talked a lot about sports, and I actually did want to talk also about something outside of sports, something I love, something you guys have been familiar with my love for, which is hip hop. Now, most of my hip hop conversation has been directed towards J. Cole, because he is a big artist that came out with an album. So a lot of the hip hop talk I've had in the show is about J. Cole. For those that are tired of me talking about J. Cole, rejoice. This is not a J. Cole conversation. So we're not talking about Cole here, but we are talking about someone who was his mentor and who brought him into the rap game, and that is Jay-Z. Because we've been seeing some movements that are making people wonder if Jay-Z may have a big summer with the anniversary of Reasonable Doubt coming up. So this was from XXL. Jay-Z had recently launched a new website, jz30.com. And he released Dead Presidents, the original track, on streaming services last week. So right now, we're seeing what is clear, like he's going to play up the Reasonable Doubt, which is the first Jay-Z album, his debut album in 1996. One of the foundational, like, we talk about what is hip hop, this is one of those kind of albums. Ironically, it didn't sell quite as well when it came out, but it's one of those things that when Jay-Z came, as he became a bigger and bigger star, people go back into the catalog and they'll say this is his best album to a lot of people. I always argue that I think it's Blueprint, but it's usually a losing battle to have that battle. Reasonable Doubt is incredible. And every time I did go back and listen to Reasonable Doubt, I'm like, ugh. It's a tough one to fight. My favorite Jay-Z album is Reasonable Doubt. And my second favorite is probably the Black Album. But Reasonable Doubt is top 3, and it's exceptional rapping. And he's arguably the GOAT. But I think there are a lot of people, if you go to a Jay-Z show or if you've gone to anything involving, Jay-Z in terms of performances, you don't really get to hear a lot of that music. Like, he'll do, Can't Knock the Hustle. Maybe he'll do Dead Presidents too. Otherwise, that's it. He's not playing anything else from that. And a lot of times, that's why his B-side shows, when he's done a few of those, they've been really fun for people because he's gotten to play a lot of Reasonable Doubt stuff. But where a lot of artists, like, they have a show, especially when you're at this point in Jay-Z's career, you have to kind of call him a legacy act. You expect to hear, the big hits from the first albums, right? Like when I saw Nas perform at Citi Field, like, I loved, that time Life is Good was the album that was out. I love Life is Good. Now I hear a lot of Life is Good. It was a lot of Illmatic, which makes sense. That's the first album. That's the one that put him on. That's the one that still gets played a ton. So it makes sense from that standpoint. But with Jay, that's not the case. Again, if you're going to see a Jay-Z show, you're not hearing a ton of Reasonable Doubt. You're hearing more Blueprint. You're hearing more Black Album. You're hearing stuff even beyond the Black Album. Like, it's just, that's not typically how it's worked. You're hearing his biggest hits, and his biggest hits aren't from that album. But now, considering jz30.com is out, he's released the original Dead Presidents track, makes people wonder what may be going on here. Again, this is also on XXL. Someone on the internet had also then looked at the New York Liberty's schedule for this upcoming season. They play at home, of course, at the Barclays Center, which has kind of been the unofficial home of Jay-Z, in terms of his home base of concerts. Of course, he has a banner up there because he did all these shows when the Barclays originally opened. He's had a relationship with the Nets. He obviously was a part owner for a time. Now he's not, but he still has ties to the organization. The Liberty don't have a home game from June 19th to July 3rd. It's a long time. Like 2 weeks on the road for a team that doesn't play that often in the middle. Like, they play at most 2 games a week. Sometimes they'll play 1 game a week because the WNBA schedule is not as grueling. It's a long time not to have games at home. So it makes people think, hey, maybe that is a time where you'll have the Barclays Center open for potential Jay-Z Reasonable Doubt shows to celebrate the anniversary, which is 30 years. The 30th anniversary will be on June 25th, which will be in line with that June 19th to July 3rd spot when there's no Liberty games being played. And there's nothing else scheduled for that venue at this point in time. So the person noted, it seems very convenient that every day or every 2 days of the year, there is an event. you can check on their website. And conveniently, on the week of Reasonable Doubt anniversary, there is absolutely no event and a gap for 2 weeks. It stays observant. I stay observant, not a fact. So, and when stuff like this leaks from fans, also sometimes Eagle Eye fans just see things and they approach things and they're right. Sometimes also a birdie whispers to them, put this out there and get people buzzing about this. It helps the brand. It helps someone like Jay-Z. Wouldn't surprise me if this random internet person was a Rock Nation person, to be honest. And I want to be clear, I want no smoke with Rock Nation. I know that's become a hot button thing about, is Rock Nation paying streamers, paying people or whatever, or are they behind Tory Lanez being in jail? I want no smoke with that and nothing to do with that. I had no issue with Rock Nation. I've had no issue with Rock Nation. But I'm just talking about the industry as a whole, that this is the kind of thing that happens. It happens with Marvel movies. It happens with everything. Whisper in this scooper's ear, hey, this is happening, and put it out there. Let some buzz get around this. So this is kind of a random thing someone would try to look up to find, like the fact that they were thinking about the anniversary of this and thinking about, is Barclays open around June and July? Oh, it's not? Oh, it's 2 weeks open. Let me post online that this is kind of weird. And then XXL picks it up. You see where that could be happening. Or it could be a total coincidence. And apologies to Rock Nation, you have nothing to do with this. Again, I want no smoke. But this is a possibility that maybe you'll have. I think the theory seems logical. Now, one thing to note is that the NBA draft, is at Barclays Center. And it will likely take place on the 24th and 25th. So you're not going to have Jay-Z 30th anniversary shows on those days. But the draft, if I remember correctly, they're on a Thursday and a Friday. So does not mean you can't have that Sunday night you have a show. You can't have maybe that week of shows coming up after that. There's opportunities still, I think, to do something during that time. I think it is eagle-eyed to see that Jay-Z's doing all this stuff for Reasonable Doubt 30, and we haven't had any word on any concerts or anything, but the Barclays not being booked for 2 weeks is interesting. I'll tell you one thing. I've had my ups and downs with the Jigga Man. I think that what he did in terms of, in my opinion, burying Colin Kaepernick so that he could get in the good graces of the NFL with probably long-term hopes of being an NFL owner, I thought was nasty work. It's something I still dislike. It's something that still bothers me. Now, we've gotten great halftime shows since he joined, so I'm very happy. I'm happy he is doing the halftime shows. I don't like how it came about. I think it gave the NFL a lot of cover during a time where we were talking about really important things. And Kaepernick remained blackballed and will almost certainly never play in the NFL again. And he has said that we moved past kneeling. I'll never forgive him for that. That was awful. And there's typical other Jay-Z stuff because he's a billionaire who is like all billionaires. He doesn't make him any worse than most of them. He's probably actually better than most of them. But other things that have annoyed me. Hove, the rapper, is still arguably the greatest of all time. I probably, if you told me who do you think is the greatest rapper, I probably would tell you Jay-Z. If you asked me. And we talked about this weeks ago where I said, like, there was a time, like, I remember when I was a kid, like maybe like teenage years, where people were trying to say Jay-Z was the greatest rapper ever back then, and then like it was kind of like a controversial opinion. I don't think that's controversial anymore. He obviously was able to put out more work beyond those years, but he hasn't put out work as good as The Blueprint or Reasonable Doubt or the Black Album when we were having those conversations afterwards. But simply his longevity, and I think also listening back is, oh yeah, this guy's on a different level. His ear, his lyricism, his storytelling, he's awesome. So Hove, the artist, is someone I always have of the highest of respects because he's maybe the best ever. So I will try to be at one of these shows. Is the long story of all this. All that NFL stuff, I'm not happy with him about that. Again, there's been other things about Hove and how he's moved that has frustrated me largely. But as a rapper and as a performer, there's probably nobody better that's ever done it. And we're going to be having Reasonable Doubt. That's another thing, too. Like, I love Jay-Z. I've been to only the On the Run tour, too. I've never been to an actual Jay-Z concert. They're a bucket list artist for me in terms of what I see, in terms of guys I want to see. I've been able to knock off a ton, but there are a few that I still have. Jay-Z I've seen, so he's not a bucket list artist, but he was for years until I saw him live with Beyonce. I would love to see a Jay-Z concert which is why I definitely need to go to this if this happens. And I also want to see him play Reasonable Doubt stuff because that's, again, some of his better work. But my bucket list artist that I have not seen yet that I need to see. Lupe Fiasco, who I'm actually going to see this summer because he's doing a 20th anniversary at shows for Food and Liquor, which is, for my money, one of the best hip-hop albums of all time. And one of my favorite albums. And you want to talk about foundational music to like me and who I became as a young adult, Food and Liquor is 100% up there. So most people love The Cool. Food and Liquor, actually, I prefer more as my favorite Lupe Fiasco album. Well, my favorite Lupe Fiasco album is actually Tetsuo and Youth, which is kind of like, it's a phenomenal album, but because it was so far away from what we consider Lupe's prime, I think not even people will actually listen to it. Go back and listen to Tetsuo and Youth. It is phenomenal. One of my favorite albums of all time. But 20th anniversary Food and Liquor show, I gotta be there. So I will knock off Lupe Fiasco as a bucket list artist I want to see, which I'm excited about. Other bucket list artists I have Rick Ross. Oh. Gotta have love from Rick Rose. I'm a big fan. Been a big fan of Rick Ross for a long time. Never seen him live. Never seen Rick Ross live.
Those hair follicles. Whoever your barber is, tell him to stop.
Definitely want to see Rick Ross at some point in time.
Tua Tagovailoa, QB Alabama.
I just had to play those drops. I was like, oh, I forgot to have Rick Ross drops. No, Rick Ross, he's also been one of my all-time favorite artists. He's someone I want to see. Those are the two main ones, and of course, major shout out to the namesake of this podcast, not just the movie 4 Days and 40 Nights, but also the guy who inspired my idea for this, which is XV, who's an independent rapper in Kansas, who was a huge rapper during the blog era time. Making it out to Kansas, because a lot of the shows he's done has been particularly in the Wichita area. Making it out to Kansas has been a little tricky and maybe difficult for me, but I hope to one day get to see him perform, because his catalog of music it's definitely also a huge part of the soundtrack of EJ's young adult life. Those are the big three. I'm trying to think of the other people there are people I wish I saw. Like I don't know if I want to see him now, but I said this on the fan, man. I wish I could have seen 50 Cent perform at like the height of his powers. Like, again, 50 Cent when I was a teenager was like a superhero in terms of just like popularity among young kids, and me growing up in Queens and this guy being the biggest star in hip hop. It felt like almost overnight. The energy was insane. I would have loved to have been a young adult at that time, be able to go to a G Unit show and go to a 50 Cent show. I don't know how much I need to see him do that now, though I would like to, but he seems to be much more worried about figuring out who he's going to troll next as opposed to getting in a booth. He's in it right now, a beef with T.I. T.I. is getting in the booth, and T.I. is rapping. I'll be honest, I haven't given much thoughts on that beef right now because 50 is not responding on wax. I don't think he plans to or wants to. I think he's kind of done with rapping. But T.I. has had this kind of feud with 50 Cent where they were supposed to do a versus and it didn't happen, and seemed like 50 Cent bowed out, and then 50 also was being kind of like, he's 50 Cent, so he's going to troll on social media. He's trolling T.I. And T.I. didn't like that. He didn't like the fact that he bowed out of something that was agreed to, apparently, and he is taking it to the mic. And you're probably thinking, do I really want to hear a T.I. rap in 2026? The rap is pretty good. Like, I don't know if you want to, but the rap is pretty good. And in these little jabs he's throwing at 50, these short tracks he's dropped have been pretty good. So shout out to T.I. He's performing really well in this, right now, one-sided rap beef. But 50 in his prime would have been somebody, I don't know if he's a bucket list guy for me now, at this point in his life. But Rick Ross, I'd see now. Lupe Fiasco, I'd see now. XV, I'd see now. That's probably it. I've got to see a lot of the acts. I'm trying to think, one that I think would be big. And I don't know, this is kind of sad. I don't know if I'd want to, not that I would want to see him, but I don't know if it's bucket list for me. But I'm a huge Linkin Park fan. Chester passing away makes, and I know they have a new woman who's I forget, I do not remember her name, but they have a new woman who's the lead singer for when they do shows. She sounds great. I've heard her sounds just from people who have recorded shows or they've streamed shows. She sounds awesome. Like, but it's not having Chester makes it definitely tough. But Linkin Park would be someone else that, like, if Chester was here, like, that would also be a bucket list. Seeing a Linkin Park show. It's probably the only rock show I really feel like I need to see. But I've gotten to see a lot of other people. Most of the artists I love to see, I've gotten to see. Is anybody in chat? Are there any bucket list artists you want to see before you kick the bucket? My big three are Ross, XV, and Lupe Fiasco. I've gotten to see J. Cole. I've gotten to see Drake. I've gotten to see Kanye, even though it's for like a half hour, because that was the night that Kim got robbed, famously or infamously, in Paris. So he cut his show short and flew to Paris because Kim had this situation happen to her. I always tell people, Kanye is whatever. I don't love anything he's done, not just music-wise, but also like off out of the booth. I don't know how you say it. We say off the field of sports. Anti-Semitic, anti-black stuff. Like, it's nasty work. I'm not a fan right now, and haven't been for a while. But I always tell people that 25 minutes of the show that he was like an hour and a half late for. That was the best 25-minute show I've ever seen. It was awesome. Like, I was like, that's why we were like, wow, that sucked. That's over. Like, this was insane. Like, the artistry, the music, the lighting, everything he did for like a festival stage. It was crazy. I was like, this is incredible. So, great performer. Seems like terrible person. And seems like someone who's going through severe mental illness. But that show was awesome. But I've seen Kanye, I've seen Drake, I've seen J. Cole, I've seen Kendrick Lamar, I've seen Logic, I've seen Chance the Rapper. I've now seen Joey Badass. That was a big one. Joey Badass might have been on that bucket list too. There aren't too many more for me. Like, a lot of the blog, I mean, I've kind of become an adult of the blog era. So a lot of the blog era guys I really loved, I've gotten to see perform live. You know, so there's not someone I'm like running to that I need to see. Oh, maybe one more guy I put in there. Sorry, wipe my nose real quick. One more guy I put in there is Wale. Wale, we a bucket list guy too. I love to see Wale. I gotta listen to this new album he just dropped, like maybe a month or a month and a half ago. Apologies to, you know, if you're like, oh, you're not a real Wale fan, you listen to his album. When you get older, you kind of just get to things whenever you get to them. There's some people where it's like the minute they drop, you have to listen to. Like J. Cole is that for me. XV is that for me. Logic is that for me. That's probably it. There are not a few guys that are like that. Kendrick, of course. Kendrick is like that. That's probably it. So it's not like it's a ton of people that make that crack that. Not even so many people that are on the bucket list, like Rick Ross or Lupe Fiasco. I would love to see Wale perform, because Wale is probably the most underrated rapper of his generation. And it's so weird because I think he was pushed as like the guy who's supposed to like lead this generation of rappers. I think sometimes, you know, Wale has a interesting. It's funny that him and Kevin Durant are friends. It makes sense because they're very similar personalities, and it's ironic because I always get on Kevin Durant, but I love Wale. But Wale is very much like he will put out his grievances with the music industry or with fans out there on social media or out there in the public and not shy away from it. And to his credit, it doesn't seem like he doesn't do it behind a burner account. But they're two guys from the DC area, so it makes sense that they're similar and that they're very good friends. Shout out to Wale. But Wale is someone who I think was kind of expected to be like the superstar of this generation. Like, you're trying to figure out who's going to be the next guy to come out of the generation of Kanye West. And I think we thought it was going to be Wale. Like, that's how it was. The music industry, at least, I think, was pushing it to be Wale. It turned out to be Drake. That's who it ended up being. I think I can say that fairly and honestly. Even though, I'm not the biggest fan of Drake of late, he became that guy. So I think Wale's put out really great music, and he doesn't feel like he's gotten the respect for it. So sometimes he acts jaded. I don't know if he actually is, but he acts jaded sometimes. So me saying I haven't heard his album probably would piss him off. But I promise I do want to listen to it because I really do love Wale's music. I think Florin 2, that to me is one of the most criminally underrated albums of the last 10, 15 years. I thought Florin 2 was a classic. I thought it was awesome. And I was like, is anyone else not listening to these? Like, some of those songs on there Caramel, Fluctuate. He has a joint that that I don't remember the name of it, but it loops Jamie Foxx on the Jamie Foxx show when he sings to Fancy at the night before she's supposed to get married. It's only like a minute and 30 seconds, but it is a beautiful song. I'm like, this guy is awesome, and I wish more people gave Wale more love, more respect. But he's probably the other guy. We got Bob Custer in the chat saying, I would like to see the Eagles in the Sphere in Las Vegas. I've seen the Eagles, but not in the Sphere. Yeah, I would love to see one of my favorite acts in the Sphere. I've never been in the Sphere. I've been to Vegas once since it opened. I was there. Is it once or twice? No, once. I've been to Vegas a ton. It's weird that I've been to Vegas this much because you guys who may know me from Maggie and Pearl Off, or even from Fan, I probably talked about it a little bit. Like I don't really gamble, as you guys have learned. I don't really drink almost at all. Like I'm not an alcohol guy. I'm not a club guy, and I'm not really a strip club adult entertainment kind of guy. I'm none of those things. So you think, well, why the hell do you like Vegas so much? Why have you been there? I've been there 3 times. Once for the Summer League, once for the National Association of Black Journalists Convention, and then once for the Super Bowl. And each time I had a blast. I love Vegas. Vegas is one of my favorite cities. It doesn't seem that you think it would fit me, but I like good weather, and if it's not the dead of the summer, you get very good weather. I like good restaurants. There's millions of them. And what I always tell people, and why I pitch Vegas, some people say, oh, Vegas doesn't seem my speed. I'm like, Vegas, the debauchery is the stuff that gets pushed to the front of the line in terms of what people want to do in Vegas and what they pitch. But I think you have a lot of fun doing a lot of other things in Vegas. Like, I go to great restaurants. I've seen some phenomenal shows. Like, I got to see Silk Sonic perform. We got there late, which Andrea will never forgive me for. I thought, oh, there's going to be an opening act, so don't worry. If we're a half hour late, it's not that big a deal. We're a half hour, maybe 40 minutes late. It was like, they were like, maybe 35% through their show. We're like, what the fuck? We cursed. Oh my God. Second curse from EJ. And that one was a slip up. I usually don't slip up like that. But that was what we said. We were like, what the F? Like, I can't believe I just cursed. That's pretty funny. No, but we were like, what the hell? Like, they've already started the show? Like, and Andrea was so pissed at me. She was like, we could have been here a half hour ago. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't think. You also assumed there would be an opener. I didn't think. This is, again, not me knowing Vegas culture. Like, if someone is doing a residency, that means they're the act. There is no other act that's coming up for them. This is not like a normal concert. Any other concert, like, oh, there's an opener. Because that's where every concert works. Not in Vegas. I learned that the hard way. But Silk Sonic, also one of the best shows I've ever seen. I would say my best show I've ever seen in person was Childish Gambino at MSG. Kendrick last year was up there. That was pretty great. But I still would say Childish Gambino still at MSG was still the best show I've seen. Also a guy who's a bucket list guy and knocked off the list for watching a show. But I've never seen a show in the Sphere. I've never seen any event in the Sphere. I need to see it. I've been there multiple times. I've been to Vegas multiple times. Only once, though, since it's been opened. A lot of people were going to see. I think at the time, I want to say U2 was performing the week of the Super Bowl at the Sphere. So a lot of people who were at Super Bowl week and there for the game a couple years ago, they went to the Sphere to see that show. I was not one of them. I did not get to go. It's not that cool. But I do want to go to the Sphere. Definitely. To see something. Sporting event, concert, something. Hopefully someone I like performs there. I'm not one of those people that can go to any concert. Some people just love going to concerts and love seeing live performances. I want to know the people that I'm performing. I want to know the songs that are coming up. I want to be able to sing along terribly with the song. I don't want to just go see some random person. It's got to be someone I really like. So yeah, I need to go see the Sphere. The Eagles, obviously, legends. So I get that. I get one to go see the Eagles. If that's kind of music you're into. Totally understand that. Talking about, also Bob said, EJ, if Nevada gets a good hip-hop show in the Sphere, might be a great Las Vegas trip for you and your fiance. The problem, in theory, yes. The problem is my fiance doesn't really love hip-hop that much. Which, she's awesome. So, it can't be perfect, right? But can I get her to go see a hip-hop show? She's gone to me to see Kendrick perform. She was at the championship tour with TDE. When TDE did the championship tour where they had, this was after, I think this was after Damn. This wasn't the Damn tour, but I think it was after when Damn came out. TDE did, I think they may have done earlier ones when the guys were coming up, but this was like definitely the last one, and probably the last one you'll ever see. But they did a tour with all of their main acts, all in one show. So it was Kendrick Lamar, SZA, J-Rock, Schoolboy Q. Oh my, why I'm forgetting the roster. Ab-Soul, Isaiah Rashad, Sir. This was that era of TDE. Also one of the best shows I've ever seen. Like, you want to talk about a freaking awesome lineup. To see all those acts in one night, and it was like a good show. Part of me is like, oh man, am I gonna see Kendrick for like 20 minutes or whatever? Like, they kind of, to be fair, they kind of got, shout out to Sir, shout out to Ab-Soul, and shout out to J-Rock. They kind of got them up and out of there. It was like, all right, do your 20 minutes and get the hell out of here. I love those guys, and I'm a big fan of J-Rock and Ab-Soul. But they kind of had shorter sets. Isaiah Rashad had a very short set. But Schoolboy Q did like a legitimate like 45 minutes. SZA did like an hour, and I think Kendrick did like an hour and a half. Like, it was a long show, but it was great. That was awesome. That was at MSG. And it was cool because they kind of were like, they made it as if like they won a championship. So like a banner hung after the show ended and confetti came down. It was an awesome show. She went to that. She went to that begrudgingly because she was like, I had no one else to go with. Like, no one else could go that day, and no one wanted to pay the money. I was like, why does nobody want to go see this show with me? This is going to be the greatest show ever. So she kind of went, like, almost in protest. But then SZA came out, and she didn't realize SZA was going to be a part of it. It's like, oh, SZA. And she liked SZA, and she listened to R&B. So she got, like, an hour of, like, music that she liked. I think if I talked to her about it, I think she would say that she liked that show, even though she's not a hip-hop fan. But the problem with my fiance is she's not a huge hip-hop fan. So, like, she took me to OTR because she loves Beyonce. So even though she hates Jay-Z, for the same reason most Beyonce fans hate Jay-Z, because they think that he's not good enough for her, and the cheating allegations that he confirmed, so they're not even allegations anymore. Those things, she will never like Jay-Z. But she, held her nose to see Beyonce, and she knew I loved hip-hop and I loved Jay-Z. This was maybe our first year together. We went to OTR at MetLife Stadium. So that was cool. That was great. But she doesn't really like hip-hop. So it's hard for us to go to concerts together because the artist she wants to see, I'm also not trying to see. Like, she wants to see Harry Styles. She wants to see Taylor Swift. She wants to see, I don't want to say somebody that she doesn't. She does like Chappell Roan. There's probably some other folk people. I don't think she's a Tate McRae person. There's someone else. One of these other young folk girls she likes. I forgot her name, though. I don't remember the name. But one of these other people she really likes that she's a fan of. One of these new folk artists. I'm not trying to see those people in concert. Sorry. It's not disrespect to them. I'm not saying I don't like that they don't make good music or whatever. I'm just not trying to see. I can't, like, some people can go, oh, I want to go to a concert and see a show with like a superstar and like just enjoy the vibes. That's not me. If I don't know their music, if I'm not really someone that's going to sit there with their catalog and spend time listening to their music, I'm not going to the concert just for the vibes. That's not me. So I can't go to Harry Styles show and be like, oh, well, it's Harry Styles. He's a big celebrity. This will be fun. It's not my cup of tea. I'll be bored. Like, we went to Snow Allegra show. Shout out to Snow Allegra. She's a phenomenal R&B artist. It was fine. It was a good show. She's a great performer. She has a beautiful voice. It's just hard for me to listen to somebody who I don't really listen to their music. I'm not really the biggest R&B fan. I like R&B, but if it's somebody that I don't actually know, it's going to be hard. So we have a tough time with that. That's the one thing where for our relationship and where we're split, oftentimes if I'm going to concerts, I'm going with my friends. If she's going to concerts, she's going with her friends. There isn't too much overlap in terms of like, oh, this is someone we both like. And she did go to Chance the Rapper concert with me. That's another one we did early in our relationship. See, early in a relationship, you're willing to like hold your nose for things because you love them and you really want to like make a good impression. You want to have these experiences. And I think of the rappers she would probably listen to, Chance is probably someone she could stomach and feel like, okay, I like this music. He does a lot of like non-traditional hip hop too. So we saw Chance the Rapper at Forest Hill Stadium, but we don't do a lot of concerts, to be honest, because again our music tastes are very different, which makes I'm the person that does the playlist for when we go on long drives. It could make the playlist a little tough to build because I try to do a balance of both. We both love pop music, like old school 90s pop music. So if I could load it up with some Britney Spears, some NSYNC, some Backstreet Boys, and some Christina Aguilera, we can get through a long drive, which is what basically most of our joy playlists are. Also, last thing for Bob Custom before we move on, he also mentioned, I mentioned how I'm not someone who engages in what some would consider the debauchery of Vegas. So people say, why do you like Vegas so much? I always say Vegas is one of my favorite cities. And Bob's saying Las Vegas is a visual trip, even down for non-gamblers. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's, again, Vegas is not for everybody. A lot of people talk about how much they hate Vegas. That's not me. I think the architecture is cool. I think just the idea of the city is interesting. As Bob says, great restaurants in Vegas, great buffets, great visuals, lighting, incredible buildings. Circa has an incredible pool on Fremont Street. I love Vegas, man. Like, I do. And are you gonna tell me, oh, you're gonna go to a crap table? No. You're gonna go play blackjack? No. You're gonna do the slots? No. All right, well, you going to, you know, the gentleman's club? No. It's like, what are you doing there? Why do you like it so much? I'm like, I like a good time where I can eat some food and go see a fun show, see somebody perform. I do like that. I like again, I know Mariah Carey's performed there. Like, I would see Mariah Carey. I love Mariah Carey. I've been to a Mariah Carey concert actually. But I saw Silk Sonic. I really like Anderson .Paak, and I mean Bruno Mars. Who doesn't like Bruno Mars? You know, I'm not a super fan who I go and say I'm gonna listen to a bunch of Bruno Mars music. No, but he's someone that I might not listen to all his music. I will sit there and watch him perform because he's just a great performer and a great artist. Anderson .Paak is the man. So we went to that show and that was awesome. Unfortunately, we were mad late and that people were annoyed by that. Johnny was annoyed by that. But, I mean, yeah, Vegas is awesome. I always tell people, man, I think that you can have fun in Vegas without having to feel like you have to do the things that Vegas is synonymous with. I think sometimes people have FOMO. I talk about that a ton. Where it's like, oh, like everyone else is doing this and that's not me. So therefore I gotta say the city sucks or whatever. It's like, well, it may not be for you, but also I think Vegas has more to offer than just that. That gets a lot of people in the door. I mean, that's why they call it Sin City for a reason, right? A lot of people who want to get in that action. But I think that Vegas is a lot more than that to me. And again, it's one of my favorite cities in America. Bob saying, it's funny, my wife did not want to see old pop rocker Christopher Cross. I brought her. She loved the show. Chris Cross is an amazing guitarist. Most do not know that. Yeah, again, it's getting Andrea in the door is tricky when it comes to these shows. Like, she ain't gonna see no Rick Ross show with me. I know that for a fact. Of the artists that are on my bucket list, I don't think any of them she would see. Like, she's not going to see Lupe Fiasco. Wale is her fellow DMV brethren, so in theory you think maybe just support the DMV area. He's from DC, she's from the Baltimore area, Annapolis. You would think maybe that is someone that she would be interested in seeing. I don't get the impression that that's gonna happen anytime soon. She just texted me, by the way, because of course she's right outside the door, so she can hear a lot of things I'm saying. So sometimes I'm doing an artist. Sometimes I'm doing a show for you, the audience, but sometimes I'll have fun and know that I'm talking about her and know that she can hear me. So she's texting me while I'm talking about this. She's like, also, you're listening to all my music phase. I don't think she knows exactly why I'm doing it. But she's like, Beyonce, Mariah, Ariana, and Gaga. Those are the people that she loves. Those are her favorite artists, which is not wrong. I've seen her playlist. I've listened to her music. That's accurate. And here's the thing I'll say too. I need you guys to help me with this. Can you guys just get Andrea to admit that she's a Swiftie? Because she does this list that she just texted me. And she lists these people who are accurately her favorite artists. She listens to Taylor Swift almost more than all of them. And when I say that she's a Swiftie, she rejects that because of what it means to be a Swiftie. It means you're probably annoying. It means you may be harassing people on the internet. It means all these different things. Which I understand. I wouldn't want to be associated with those idiots either. But she will do this and list these people. I'm like, the Taylor Swift love got so insane. We each have a shared Amazon Alexa.
Sorry, I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Of course, Alexa's gonna talk when I say her name. When she's done, I'll continue.
Unplug both of them, then plug the router back.
This is a funny end to the show. It's been a wild show.
Plug in the Echo device.
This is the one that's not connected to the internet, so it always does this every time I mention it. Anyway, we have an Amazon And and 1 year, 2 years ago, I love the Spotify, like, what your favorite music thing is. It's one of my favorite things at the end of the year. I always forget it comes up. I'm like, ooh, I can show people what my favorite music was. Like, it's a stupid thing. You think, why would anybody care? I don't know. I think it's fun. So it's something I always enjoy. It's something that I love. And I post it every year. My Spotify Wrapped. Now we have a shared, didn't say it, almost got out of shared Amazon A. Let's call it Amazon A. And I was like, oh my God, I almost said it again. I've cursed this show. We've had internet issues. This has been a wild show. We have a shared Amazon, and the Amazon that's connected to that, the music that's connected to Amazon is my Spotify account. You can only have one account on there for music. We don't have Amazon Music, but you can route your Spotify on there. So when I hooked it up, I put my Spotify on there. So we play music throughout all the time on that Alexa. I said it again. And this time it didn't go. But we play music all the time on that device. And, you know, we're cleaning, cooking, whatever. Andrea does way more cooking than I do. So she's in the kitchen a lot more. That's where this Amazon is. But I do it too if I'm cooking, if I'm cleaning, which is, I know Andrea's saying, that's very rare, I know. But those days when I do, or sometimes I just may want to play music, and I'll just play it on there. But she's the one that's going to play music more on there. So 2024, I believe, was the year. Either 23 or 24. Spotify Wrapped shows up. I'm excited. Like, ooh, can't wait to see who my artists were this year. I have an idea of who I think it's going to be. I pull up my Spotify Wrapped. #1 artist, Taylor Swift. I'm like, what? I didn't listen to no damn Taylor Swift. What the only time I play Taylor Swift is I'm with Andrea and she pulls up in our shared playlist. I don't play Taylor Swift for any other reason. I have no beef with Taylor Swift. I have no beef with the Swifties. I think Taylor Swift makes some fun, catchy music. I have no issue with her at all. But I don't play Taylor Swift. And she shows up as #1 on my Spotify Wrapped. And for a while, I couldn't understand how this happened. Then I realized, oh my gosh, because she plays Taylor Swift constantly on that Amazon in the kitchen. Those were all being registered as my listens. So like Taylor Swift, and I think like Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, and I think Beyonce were like in my top 5. I was pissed. Like I was legitimately upset. She's like, "Oh, you should have still posted." I'm like, "I'm not posting this. This is stupid. I'm actually really angry. This is something I really care about. It's a small little thing. It's a dumb thing, but I like my Spotify Wrapped. I like to know what I listen to, and sometimes it informs my listening. Oh, I've listened to that person a lot. Maybe I should where's Nas? Where's Wale? Maybe I should listen to them more next year. Like actually, it informs my listening for the future. And also, I like to tell people, I love putting people on the artists I like. I keep telling everybody that's willing to listen. 2 things. 1, go read Marvel Ultimate Comics. I've been saying that. I said that yesterday. Number 2, go listen to Miles Monday. He's a young, up-and-coming rapper. I don't think he signed to anybody. He's awesome. And he was #1 on my Spotify Wrapped this year. But I think it's important to me. So I think it's funny that for someone who had Taylor Swift, she also was her #1 Wrapped, to be clear. But not I'm talking about her #1 Wrapped. On my account, Taylor Swift became #1. And then when she talks about her favorite artists, she always seems to want to not put Taylor Swift in there, I think because of the connotation of what it means to be a Swiftie. But she's a Swiftie. And it's okay. It is what it is. You're not abusive. You're not going after people on the internet. You're not attacking folks. You're not doing anything dumb. My fiance is the best. She's a lovely woman. She's a lovely person. My favorite person in the world. But she's also a Swiftie. So I think it's funny that when she hears that I'm listing her music favorites, she doesn't list Taylor Swift here. That's insane to me. And let me be clear. She loves these artists. It's not to say that she's not a big fan. We have Mariah Carey. I got her a framed picture of one of her favorite Mariah Carey albums. I think it's Daydream. I want to say that's correct. That's literally you see these pictures I have here. That's also in our room. So I'm turning this light off because it's way bright. Turn it down. There you go. So we have one of her favorite Mariah Carey album is up on our wall. We have two Beyonce pictures up on our walls. So again, it's not to say that she doesn't love these acts. She does. She absolutely does. Who else do you think is on one of our walls? Who is not mentioned in this text? Taylor Swift. Bob seemed to enjoy this story. It says LOL on the Taylor Swift. Yeah, when Taylor Swift was my number one artist, I was like, what just happened? And for most people, it would be a funny story. That's not a big deal. I was so mad. And there's nothing I can do about it. So you know what I did these past 2 years? And I'm one of those weirdos who still buys albums. Yep, I go to iTunes on my phone, and I will buy albums because I feel like streaming. Listen, there's very few ways to really help artists unless you go see them live. If you know anything about the music industry, that's the reality. But streaming seems like the thing that is most worst for artists in terms of them seeing any kind of money or value from it. They need it because they need to show, their labels or whatever that they're still successful. But in terms of like supporting them, I think buying the album is still at this point more supportive than streaming their music. So I'm someone who buys a lot of music. So I'm not someone who lives on Spotify. But this last 2 years I've been on a lot more because like when I get that Spotify Wrapped, I damn sure don't want to see Taylor Swift on there. And this year I didn't. In the last 2 years I didn't, which was good. It was again more of my artists. Nobody popped in there randomly. Nobody, not even Taylor Swift songs jumped in there. So I was good on my Spotify Wrapped this year. But yeah, Taylor Swift popped up as my number one listened artist. I was like, what? How is this even possible? What happened? She's responded, by the way, saying, I like the other ones you said too, LOL. No, I like the other ones you said. I was just adding to the list. So she said she was adding to the list. That is now the spin on this. I feel like I said, she might not have heard me. I'd already said Beyonce. To be fair, she might be right. Because I don't think I said Beyonce for sure. I don't think I said Mariah, Ariana, or Gaga, to be clear. So she is saying that she was not omitting Taylor Swift. She was just adding to the list. But again, I would argue the need to have to add to a list and not just embrace the Taylor Swift and Swiftie love that she has, I think it still makes a little bit of my point. I'm going to leave, and she's probably going to throw a book at me when I get out there. This is a fun show, man. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. They got a little weird at the end, but I had a ton of fun doing this. And Bob was right, by the way. Yeah, he said, true, artists get fractions of pennies per view on streaming. Yeah, that's why I try to buy albums. I bought the J. Cole album twice. Once. I may have to buy it twice because the way I did it seems to not be able to get it on my phone, which is a long story. A long story that I'm not going to tell on here. But yeah, I buy albums. Most of my favorite artists, I will always buy their album. And what I'll do if I'm on the fence, I will listen to it first on streaming, and if I really like it, I will then go buy the album. Again, albums, also a lot of that money does go to labels and other different people, producers and stuff, but at least some of that money will go more to artists than to streaming, where streaming, it's like, in order for them to see that bread, it's going to take you to stream their music a lot. So I try to make sure if I really like music, I buy it. Anyway, that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for this episode of 40 Days and 40 Nights. Again, I'll be back later, 6 p.m. Zach Gelb joins me. I believe we're doing 6:30 is when he's coming on live. We'll talk sports. I don't think he's a Swiftie, but maybe I'll ask him about it. Again, you guys are the best. Thank you for watching. Streaming live on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. Make sure you follow me on X where we're live, EJ_Stewart, and on Instagram, ActionEJ. Make sure you check out the podcast channel as well. Just search New Generation Podcast Network wherever you get your podcasts. I'm EJ Stewart. Have a lovely, lovely rest of your Wednesday.